Patrick Hughes, Senior Director and Industry Advisor for Icertis. Welcome. It's great to have you here today. What are you seeing technology-wise that sea services are using to introduce and maintain resilience in their supply chains?
So I think there's a lot that that's going on right now. Specifically, what I'm seeing in my industry vertical, if you will, is we're looking to enable bringing innovative technologies to the end user or to the warfighter a lot more quickly. So anything that the government contractor industry or federal agencies can implement to expedite their federal acquisition workflows, that's what's that's essentially our part.
I think there's no question about the reason that speed is important in the supply chain. What are the techniques that you're seeing people in the services taking, and what's industry's role in helping to drive that speed in the supply chain?
So yeah, I think industry's role is to say, hey, we need to invest in the technology and the output of services and commodities, and let's make sure that we can innovate on the process to get there. So for instance, there's a lot of administrative work involved in enabling the federal acquisition or any type of federal contract, from capture for the government contractor to solicitation for the federal agency. To the extent that we can automate or enable that to be kind of secondary to the actual substance of the requirement identification, the scope of work description, and helping essentially enable technology to be put in the hands of the end user versus these 18-month conversations around, hey, how do we buy something?
Right. You mentioned automation. Is automation taking a more and more prominent place in supply chain management for organizations in government?
Yeah, I believe it is, and I believe it needs to. So I think what we took away even very recently from the Ukraine-Russia war is, number one, technology is innovating at a new clock speed. There's not months and years to respond to different technologies. It's literally weeks and months. So now, to be able to enable and keep up with that type of technological innovation, we need to make sure that all of the administrivia that we've come to realize is just part of the process, and that's understanding the technology that we need to address, the decision around approvals, needs to be automated, and oh, by the way, but automated in a very intelligent and relevant sort of way. So we're not talking about just going fast, we're talking about being more precise and being fast.
How do you advise organizations in government, especially in the sea services, to understand how they're making gains, how they're making progress in their supply chain, so they understand that they're really improving things?
Yeah. Well, I think a couple ways. Like, number one, supply chains need to be accessible, timely, and robust. Another thing that we took away, again, I'm just using a recent example, is that the fragility of supply chains. A couple things. Over reliance and dependence on a very distributed and globally distributed supply chain. That's good to a point. The other piece is, how secure is that supply chain? We need to understand that our supply chain is accommodating all of the security requirements that are levied upon our government contractors from the federal government, and for good reason. So what your prominent government contractor needs to bring to the table with their supply chain is they need to, what I like to say is, they need to integrate their buy and their sell. So they have revenue generating contracts where they're supplying the end product to the government. They need to ensure that their supply chain, all of their buying activity, is fully integrated into that, so they understand they have a revenue capacity over here, they have a cost capacity over here, but what is their profitability? And oh, by the way, are they hitting all the rebates, volume discounts, and doing it in a timely way so they're enabling all of their requirements on their prime contract? So, yeah.
Patrick, it's great to have you here. Thanks for joining me today.
Thank you very much, Francis. Appreciate it.